In the past, they mentioned about trying to drill on the moon, try to build a moon base. So what you're proposing is essentially a cheaper alternative that's available to more countries and more nations then.
Exactly right, exactly right. We feel that the moon will be an outpost the same way Antarctica is an outpost. It'll be a research station for a very long time. But we want to build the railroad that everybody has access to. That's really kind of one of our driving goals. I think that the space station at the Lagrange point is extraordinarily valuable. I think it's probably the most valuable real estate in the solar system because it's between the Earth and the Moon, so we have a lot of human resources, people on this side. You've got a lot of natural resources, materials on this side, and this Lagrange point station, what we refer to as the Pico Gravity Lab, I think that's going to be the station where when we move out to Mars, we build it from the Pico Gravity Lab. When we go to the moon, we build it from the Pico Gravity Lab. Eventually, when we go to the stars, that's a long ways away, but when we go to the stars, we'll build that system from the Pico Gravity Lab.
I'm sure a lot of folks in the past probably compare what you're saying to the Tower of Babel. Can you tell me what your experience is with their stories and how they compared it?
I don't really say this very often, but I'm actually Catholic. And so from a religious perspective, it's an interesting concept, right? That there's lines in the Bible that says, and then vain men shall build a tower to the heavens. Well, my last name is Laine, so there's some very peculiar similarities there, but every culture has stories that say, don't climb too high, don't tempt the gods. Icarus, with his wings of wax and feathers, was a story about don't climb it too high. The Tower of Babel was the same thing. I've always disagreed with those stories. We had a professor from Notre Dame look at our project from a theological perspective, and we've had fans that sent us quatrains from Nostradamus that reference our project. So it's always very peculiar, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to bring around, some sort of catastrophic disaster.
So what are your short-term goals? Short-term in like 5 to 10 years?
I want to always concentrate on the Earth elevator. That's our long-term goal. But since we can't do that, we're focusing on the lunar system, and we think we can build that in 8 to 10 to 12 years, something in that range. In the shorter term, we're launching our robotic experiments this summer, and then depending on a whole bunch of variables, whether it's spring or fall next year, we'll start our first in-space experiments on the International Space Station.
So your first Kickstarter project was $8,000 now to actually build it on the moon. Now, where do you think you can secure the funds from for that kind of project? And how will the investors see a return on it? By what kind of material will they be bringing back from the moon?
Well, we're not actually trying to get investors for the lunar system because it's so far away and it's so full of risk at this stage. What we're going to do in 2013 and 14 is really focus on risk reduction, developing the feasibility and technical studies that we need. That will actually develop an awful lot of intellectual property that is valuable down here on Earth right now. So for example, we already have probably around 20 patentable technologies for our communications and robotics system. We've created a new alloy that is very, very conductive and looks like it's not corrosive. So there's a lot of spin-offs that will develop along that path, and that's really what the investors will want to pay attention to because those spin-offs are immediate. The first ones we're doing right now, actually. Over time, the entire system is somewhere north of $800 million, which sounds like a lot, but I live in Seattle, and we have 5 different billion-dollar infrastructure projects going on right now. So when you look at it from the perspective of infrastructure, $800 million into 8 or 10 years is actually quite doable, and there's quite a few funding sources for something like that. But we're not looking to do that yet. We really want to focus on risk reduction in the next 2 years.
Now, you mentioned that a lot of you were former NASA, or part of former NASA project. Would this be your own private company, basically managing this, or would you take like a university support, researchers from other countries, and make it more of an international effort?
It's already an international effort. It was from the beginning. The project was originally funded under NASA's Institute for Advanced Concepts, and that project came to an end in 2003, partly as a result of the Space Shuttle Columbia crashing. NASA had to rejuggle their budget to find out what happened and then to rebuild. And that was the right decision, but but that orphaned us at the time. So we went private then, and that was really, really difficult. But what we wound up doing was partnering with, I think we got to the level of about 60 universities, somewhere north of 800 people involved, and it was global right from the beginning. With our restart, we're doing some work in Reykjavik, Iceland for marketing. We're doing some work in Puerto Rico, developing an academic partnership down there, an industrial partnership in Vienna, Austria, and just yesterday, Boeing and us signed an NDA, which I can't talk about, but I'm pretty excited about. So we'll see what happens with Boeing.